live on the Metal Voice, the Metal Panel, discussing, this new album by Rammstein. Just came out. I mean, these guys just kind of just dropped it out of nowhere. You know, it wasn't something completely expected or not unexpected. It was just out of nowhere. Rammstein decides to throw out an album. Hasn't been too long. Been teasing us with a lot of cool videos. And the Metal Panel is here. Well, I'm back. Tom's back. Stefan's back. And of course, Perrin's back. It's been
I never left
now. You never left, but you're back.
I was just saying before, I feel very out-Canadianed here.
Yes.
Well, one American is worth 4 Canadians, so you're okay.
That's right.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking about our currency.
I was going to say, talking about the exchange rate?
Yes. However, about 10 years ago, it was the other way around. But it's okay.
I remember.
Yeah, for about a week.
Yeah. All right, on the show today, guys, I'm glad you all jumped in. You know, it's a big release. Rammstein's new album. I mean, I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right. Is it Zeit?
Zeit.
It means time.
Zeit. Yes.
Time. This is their 8th studio album, released on Universal, produced by the band and Olsen Ivolontini. So I'm going to just get into this right away. Again, it was not something the band was planning on doing, but because of all these COVID restrictions and all the COVID problems, they ended up writing an album, putting it together, and throwing it out there. So, Tom's our guest. I will let him... Just first impression, Tom. First impression, what'd you think of this new album by Rammstein?
I mean, it sounds like every other album by Rammstein. I mean, that's the thing about this band. You either like them or you don't, or I guess you're just kind of indifferent. Like, they're very repetitive. It's, you know, I've always, you know, they always have 1 or 2 songs on every album. Like, they have great riffs, great real gimmicky hard riffs. They always have that 1 or 2 songs that kind of can cross the language barriers. Usually they have something to do with penises, you know, or but they do though. They have that 1 or 2 gimmicky songs that can kind of cross all the boundaries, the language barrier. And it's kind of the same thing. There's a couple really solid, like, cool singles that'll probably do well on radio. And otherwise it's just, you know, it's just good, solid industrial metal with good, you know, good riffs. And, you know, I've never been able to get past the German, man. I don't speak German. So it's always been weird to me listening. I'm a lyric guy, like I'm a word guy. So it's always been, I've always felt like I needed to learn German to really fully appreciate them. But I do know what Zeit means.
All right. So, Stefan, I know that you're new to this record.
I'm actually quite familiar with Ramstein. I've seen them in concert. I think it was at the Bell Center about 10 years ago. Is that possible? Or was it more recent?
That's about right. Montreal was a good market for them. Montreal was one of the markets where they were playing arenas, you know, when they weren't even playing other places in North America. Like they would do a North American tour that would be New York and Montreal at one point, you know, and that would pretty much be it, you know.
Quebec City. And it's funny because it brings me to what Tom just said about the language barrier with German. And it, you know, Tom, you just gave me this flashback of when I started buying rock records when I was 12 years old. I did not speak a word of English back then. For me, English was a second language, but I was listening to rock, American, British rock music because I liked it, even though I couldn't understand the words. So for me, the words, the voice was always another instrument, you know, another guitar, keyboard, whatever. And luckily for me, I really, really wanted to understand what all these singers were singing. So I made a point of learning English by translating the lyrics into French. And, oh, that's what they mean. And then you get the bigger picture. And then your English as second language courses kick in. And, oh, okay, now I get it. And for me, Rammstein is me at 12. You know, I'm listening this band with, okay, I don't understand a word, but it sounds really, really cool.
Yeah, you're listening purely on like a primal level, you know?
Yeah, and this is why I like Ramstein. I don't really have to know or care what they sing about. And
Stefan, I think we just lost
after
your
hearing
video.
their few songs in English, I tell myself, you know what? Maybe it's better that way because they're really stupid lyrics in English anyway. Like they're dumb. America won the ball. Like, come on, guys. Wake up.
America. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
but I'm gonna go. I've seen them in concert. I think in concert they blow my mind completely.
Stefan, we lost your video. I don't know. Maybe you hit a button there or something.
I think I did. Hold on.
Or a bird attacked him or something.
As you were headbanging there, you kind of headbanged your button.
Here it is. Okay.
There it is. Okay.
And so I find this last album to be really more of the same. Always a mix of various extremely bombastic heavy metal mixed with a few melodies here and there that makes it very appealing. The pleasant riff, like that sounds like the kind of music I like, maybe cover half their songs. I mean, I like their singer because he's powerful, he's colorful, but sometimes I feel the producer should maybe bring him just a notch down in the mix and bring up the other instruments a bit more. That's my only criticism. And the only thing that struck me while listening to it is the fact that this is we're in a pandemic. We can't do anything about it, so let's put together a record. So they did not try anything new. They just went with what worked, what they knew, and probably what they could do from home without the inspiration of being on tour at the same time as developing new songs. I think this is a very honest effort on the part of Rammstein, but I do not think it's going to break new grounds in their discography.
All right, Perrin, what'd you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, I agree with what a lot of the guys said, but I'll just, bounce off of what Stefan just said. I don't think they're trying to break any new ground. I don't think their fans want them to break any new ground.
I don't think they've ever tried to break new ground, honestly. I mean, they've always just did what they did.
Yeah, I mean, in this kind of music, they're the AC/DC of that kind of music. It's the same six guys.
They're the AC/DC of angry German industrial metal.
There you go. Yeah, it's a niche of a niche of a niche. So, but think about it. They've been around between 25 and 30 years now. The same six guys, which is incredible when you think about it. No disagreements. They kind of take breaks when they need to take breaks. They come back when they need to come back. It's very German. It's very precise. It's very organized. If you liked all of Rammstein's previous records, like Tom said, you're gonna like this record. And if you didn't like them and were hoping to discover them by them doing something fresh and new, it's not gonna happen, and it's probably never gonna happen. This is what they are. There's no peeling the onion here, folks. Like, this is what they are. And every album is gonna have about 1/3 of just crunchy industrial kind of stuff. Maybe a third kind of quirky songs about penises and boobs and that kind of stuff. And then they'll kind of put in,
AKA the singles.
Yeah, there you go. And then, another third where there'll be some interesting orchestration and some pieces that make you say, man, so somebody in the band might be classically trained or something. So, they are what they are, but I think they do what they do really, really well. And this record is no different. And, it's funny. I was thinking about the language thing too, because I'm a person that's so into music that for sure the music hooks me, but I like to dive into the lyrics of the bands that I'm listening to. And I can't really do that here. But I will say they make me care enough that I looked up all the song titles on Google Translate, and I wanted to see what they were in English. And if there's a lyric or a chorus, I will bother to look it up and see what they're saying. And in Zack, I'll find out they're talking about plastic surgery. But in other things, they're talking about the passage of time and something a little bit more,
Wouldn't it be the cosmic joke of the universe? Is like every album they're making these like deep moves forward, but it's all lyrically, so nobody understands it.
Yeah, exactly. Someone somewhere, yeah.
But, there have been people I've heard over the years have actually picked up the German language because similar to what Stefan's saying, because they want to know, right? And they're so intrigued by it, by the German language and metal, that they go, I'm going to learn German because Rammstein's my favorite band and they sing in German. So,
but let me say this: these guys know how to create an earworm and get it to stick there, man. They know how to do that. I mean, if I go all the way back to their second record and Do Hashed, I used to play that with giving my son a bath, and then my son days later would be like, Do Hashed, when he was like a little kid, And even now with Zack, because I knew we were doing this show, I've listened to it a couple times this morning, and fuck me if I'm not just walking around saying Zick, Zack as I'm cleaning the window.
And you're like, why do I want plastic surgery now?
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, zigzag and nip tuck and everything. But so these guys, I mean, they can create an earworm, and that not everybody can do that. Not everyone can kind of just come up. It's called a hook, kids, and not everyone can come up with hooks, and they got hooks in there. So
are they more? I'm going to ask everybody this: are they more of a music visual band, or are they more of a? I'm going to put this, the CD on or this MP3 on and listen to it. Are they more of an audio band or more of a visual? Like, I get a kick out of watching their videos or seeing a live performance. Yeah. It really brings another level to it all.
I think that depends who you ask. I mean, I think overall the visual probably adds to it. I've seen them live a bunch of times. Honestly, I didn't like them at all until I thought they were just kind of third-rate cam FTM until I saw them live. And then I kind of got it. And I almost got my face burned off, which is a story for later. But, the visual, the videos, it's always been such a big part of what they do. I think there's people who just love the band and put on their records and just rock out in the car. You know what I mean? But I think the visual would always enhance it musically. But there's definitely people I know who live and die by that band and just put on the records and just rock out.
I'll put their CD on in the car, but it just doesn't have that same impact.
Yeah, I agree.
When they're breathing the fire and there's dirt all over them. And
giant prosthetic penises and flames and
exactly. It's just not the same, right?
I find that the whole video thing, like music videos, it doesn't do me a thing. I try to watch the Ramstein stuff, and
really?
On video, no. But I totally agree with Tom here that on a concert stage with a massive crowd, that's where they come around, and that's where they go, oh, you get it, And before they started filling the Bell Center in Montreal, you may recall that they played over 100,000 people at the Festival d'été de Québec, and they all had their fist in the air, and that's when I said, who is this band? Hello? And when you see them live and you're with an equal number of diehards singing along every German lyric they don't even understand, says, oh, okay, this is what it's about. And I agree. This is a band that can best be appreciated live.
Does any language work? Does metal work with, Italian? Does metal work with English? Of course it does. It's obvious. But does it works with German? It definitely does. But could it work with any language?
Anybody who owned the Gorky Park cassette in the 80s will say, in the 90s, will say that it kind of worked in Russian.
Look, a hook is a hook.
Yeah.
And a riff is a riff.
But some languages, like German's a very brutal language, so
it's very harsh.
The brutality.
Yeah.
A lot of our favorite bands, from Finland or Scandinavia and other places, have sometimes done a record in English and thrown, like Nightwish would throw a song in Finnish on at the end of the record. We've been talking about TNT this week because a couple of their records hit anniversaries. And I think TNT's first record before Knights of the New Thunder, there was, if it wasn't all sung in Norwegian, it was partially sung in Norwegian. So there's, people do it. So it can work. I want to get back to the audio visual thing again.
People can do it and it can work, but it doesn't always work.
No, not on a Rammstein scale. Not on a
Rammstein scale.
Tip of the cap to these guys because, most of the world doesn't speak the language that they're singing
exactly
in.
The point.
And they can draw 130,000 at an outdoor festival in Quebec. and they can sell out Madison Square Garden and the Bell Center in Montreal, and that's over 10 years ago. And now, guys, they're a stadium act. They're going, this tour that's been canceled for 2 years, but is going to happen this year. It's a stadium tour.
Stadiums, it's crazy. Like,
and nobody understands a word.
Yeah.
But it's back to the visual aspect, Jimmy, because let's face it. We grew up on Kiss. The four of us on here grew up on Kiss. And Kiss is another example. And Rammstein, I've read in interviews, they hate the comparison to Kiss. But I'm going to do it because Rammstein's first album did nothing. And then they toured. And even when they were playing smaller places, they did a big show for small places. And they got a reputation going based on their live show. And then by the time their second record came around, they got a lot more attention with their second record, which was a better record. But also people were willing to listen and pay attention because of the live credibility that they had. And that just mushroomed from there to the point where they're playing stadiums. Kiss, same thing. We've all heard the stories, right? The first 3 studio records, up until Alive came out, didn't really do what they've done now. But once Alive came out and everyone paid attention to the band, either saw them or listened to Alive, then all of a sudden Kiss is the best thing since sliced bread. I'll even do it. I'll compare Rammstein to Triumph because we talk about Triumph a lot around here.
I want to
Triumph was built,
maybe in terms of
not musically. Live credibility.
Sure.
Triumph put on a larger than life show, and because of that, in their heyday, each album did better than the one before. Because even if you're only kind of into them, if you went to see them, by the time you came out of that show, you weren't on the fence anymore. You were into them, and you were probably going to buy the next record. So I think Rammstein, what they've really done is that they've taken their live show.
I would say that their videos are just as important as their live shows, because every video that they do is like a work of art. It just works so well with the music. Even Du Hast,
they're very cinematic. They're very
they use the medium right. That's what I'm trying to say. They know how to really. Those videos aren't cheap either. Those are big production videos.
No, it's not the cartoon lyric video that we see a lot of bands doing these days.
Oh yeah, it's not shot on an iPhone. You know what I mean? It's definitely.
All right, so songs off of this album, Tom. Like, what songs kind of just said, these are the tracks. I really dig this one.
Let me see.
Do you remember?
I'm gonna pull it up right here. I got it right here. I liked Zick, Zack, which obviously is a single. I liked Angst. I liked Dick Titten. I just wanted to say that title. But I actually did. It has a really great riff. That'll be the second.
Guess what it translates into?
Dick Tits?
Fat tits.
Oh, okay. Big tits.
Good.
Let's just say that's the next single.
Whatever AC/DC did of Big Balls or She's Got Balls, they did of this.
We've got big tits.
Stefan, what did you like? Which songs that stuck out for you?
Yeah, I didn't memorize the song names because I listen when I drive or when I have my headphones on.
So look at your phone and pretend you did, like I just did.
Yeah, well, I can't because I'm talking in my phone.
Oh, touche.
Look,
just say big tits.
Yeah, the opening track, I remember I didn't like it. I had to move forward. Look, don't ask me for names of tracks. I know it was something German, but it's an album I will listen to again to answer your question, which is you're getting at, because I want to discover it. Okay, on the first. You know me, you know my taste. First listen, on or off. If it's off, I'll never put it on again. This one said to me, okay, I will listen to it longer, deeper, and I will analyze it. But my impressions are favorable enough that if they come to Montreal, I will certainly buy tickets this time. Okay. I think it skipped last time, but if they come back, count me in.
Well, they're coming back, man. Although it's $120 to stand in a field, but you will get your face burned off. So that's kind of.
Baron, what stuck out for you? Which tracks were the
There was a song easy enough to translate because it's called "Okay," so it's the same in English and the same in German. That I thought there were some face melting riffs in there, and if you listen to the song "Okay," they're not prog, but I hear some heavy John Petrucci Dream Theater. Like I kind of heard that. It's almost like if you took, John Petrucci and Dimebag Darrell and put them on an industrial record, this is what it would sound like. So I like the song Okay, and the song after that I thought had a pretty cool kind of typo negative vibe. Meine Tränen, which is I think My Tears. So I like that. You know, I have to say, as I listen to this, and I probably, because we were reviewing it, I probably listened to it closer than I listened to a lot of Rammstein records. I mean, like I said, I just talked about Pantera, Typo Negative, Dream Theater, like even some kind of rage sounding riffs. Actually, in the new single they put out today, Angst, that opening riff, that it's a Pantera groove like all the way, you know? It's a total Pantera groove. So
I would say this, and tell me if I'm wrong. I would say the first three songs, I wasn't too impressed, but I find the rest of the album really picks up. Maybe the sequence wasn't done right. Like they should have put Zick, Zack at the beginning and Okay after that. But they were just too slow. They're just too proddy, those first three tracks. And I don't know, they just didn't do anything for me.
I thought the first one was a safe opening track just because it's very them. It was very Ministry. There I go name dropping again, like very industrial, kind of thing. I thought having Zeit, the title track, as the second song, which is a very laid back orchestral track, at least the first half of it. I don't know if I would have sequenced it second on the record. I still say with a record, you want a good heavy 1-2 punch. Then you can kind of flow it with something a little bit different. So I thought going kind of industrial and then orchestral was kind of a weird mix. But like I said, and I didn't mention Zick Zack because it's the easy one. But I really, like I said, I think that's an earworm. It's a really good song. It's catchy. So,
what would you have liked to see, Tom, that you didn't hear on this album?
I don't even know how to answer that question. Like I said, it sounds like every other Rammstein album, but
maybe you would have liked to see something out of the box, like
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't know that would make me like it any more or less. I mean, it's kind of like it's a trusted brand. You get it. You know what you're getting. The people that like them like what they do. They're not really looking for anything else. They delivered what you'd expect them to deliver. It sounds like a Rammstein record. There's some really heavy, good riffs. I don't know. I don't really even have an answer for that.
Stefan, what would you have liked to see on this album that wasn't there?
I think I alluded it when I reviewed it. The singer's voice is so high up in the mix that it distracts me from Rammstein's best elements, which for me is their prog rock element.
Groove? Is it the groove?
Yeah, when they go a bit beyond the 4/4, and I find that no disrespect for that voice, which is extremely rare in heavy metal, that you have some power without growling and yet be able to roll and articulate.
But without growling or singing, really, just talking. I mean,
is he a baritone? He's kind of like a baritone almost.
Yeah. Of course, yeah.
I'd say
very deep.
Way too bombastic for me anyway, and I would have preferred a bit more attention. The music a bit higher up in the mix, and that for me would reconcile me with the only element of Ramstein that irritates me.
What about you, Perrin? What would you have liked to see?
I'm in Camp Tom. I don't want anything different. I grew up listening to Rush, and I grew up listening to AC/DC. I wanted every Rush record to be a little different, and that's what was cool about them to me. And I didn't want AC/DC to be any different, and that what was cool about them for me. So for me, that Rammstein, different kind of music, but it's in that camp. You kind of, look, they've been out almost 30 years. It's only their 8th or 9th record. So they don't put out a record all that often. So when they do, I don't want them to, do a duet with Floor Johnson, or I don't want them to do, I don't want anything different. I just want them to do what they do and do it really well. And that's what they do, and I'm not saying, I'm not a huge fan, right? I'm a fan in passing. They're not one of my favorite bands. They're not a band where Jimmy says we got to review the record. I'm like, oh man, I really don't want to review this record. No, like it was cool to review this record. It's a good record. It's a solid record. I'm not like a huge Rammstein fan, but if I was, they gave me what I wanted. And when I'm in the mood for this kind of music, it's top shelf. They're the best at what they do. They're the best at what they do.
Tom, would this work as an all English album? Would English destroy the band?
It probably, like, look, somebody mentioned this before, and it's such a good point. Is their English lyrics were so ridiculous. You know what I mean? It's so. I mean, the stuff they've done in English was so kind of bad and cliched, and again, it works because they're German, so their English is very bare bones. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think they're so left field with their lyrics and kind of so tongue in cheek that the German kind of works, or the kind of German with a smattering of bad English that they used. I think, again, I think it is what it is, man. I think English would, again, their last couple stabs at English were not Lord Byron,
Stefan, would you have liked to hear at least one track all in English or in French? I mean,
No.
Okay.
No.
Stick
For
to
the
German.
Tom said they can't write lyrics that that can surpass their music. That's the polite way of saying it. In other words, if you can't get yourself a lyricist to write intelligent English lyrics, stick to German.
Yeah,
we all
at least then people don't know how dumb the shit you're saying is, unless.
Perrin, would you like at least one single? Like, they've done it before. I mean, they've done that. They've done choruses.
But I like that better. I like when in the odd time they'll slip do a verse in English or a chorus in English.
Yeah.
But not a full song. Look, I mean, there's lots of bands. When Loudness first came to North America, they would write in Japanese. And then they would translate to English, and Minoru would sing phonetically. And let's just say, like, the first Loudness albums that came to the shore, lyrically they were not the most like insightful kind of thing out there. Like, I mean, Let It Go was a nice song, but it was obvious that they had written it in Japanese, and maybe it was more poignant in Japanese than when you kind of translate it to
sometimes shit gets lost in translation. It really does.
I think that when bands who are second language singing, in English, people tend to be a little more gentle with them. Fans tend to be a little more like the Scorpions, right? I mean, it's obvious it's not their first language. They're not great in English, but they're a little more gentle because they know that it's not their first language. So.
But singing in German fits this industrial music, right? Because German is kind of a harsh sounding language, and this
sounds like a factory.
I don't think that would work with the Scorpions. Like Klaus Meine couldn't have sang all their records in German.
No,
I don't think it would have worked. For the industrial, again, even in it's more of in the kind of industrial metal thing. It's the lyrics are kind of more percussive anyway. I mean, even in Ministry, I mean, look, I love Al, I love his lyrics. I mean, they're super fucking great. But again, it's almost a more percussive thing anyway. Where I don't think it really takes away that much that it's not in English.
Well, I mean, okay. So Queen saying German language is beautiful. I'm not saying German language isn't a beautiful thing. It just phonetically, and I like Tom's point, percussion. If phonetically, metal is kind of harsh, and there are some harsh elements in the language that seem to connect together very well, and that's what makes it so great. Yeah. So it wouldn't work in Italian as much,
Yeah, I said harsh, and I didn't mean it that way, right?
But it is. It's a very blunt language. Yeah. It's very, there's a lot of really high emphasis. I mean, it's not a love language. You know what I mean? It's
But even syllables, right? Like so, zigzag.
Yeah.
Is zigzag in English. So if they were saying zigzag, zigzag, it would sound kind of silly.
Yeah.
Whereas zigzag, it's the at the end of the word that kind of gives it a little bit of a punch. Where zigzag, zigzag, this wouldn't sound so good.
It's kind of like opera in Italian. It just works so much better because it's a romantic language, right? There's just more vowels in the words, right? So that's all we're trying to say. Whereas English in opera, it just doesn't work as well. Right, it could work, but it just doesn't really work.
Look at us. We're cunning linguists. In the words of Ian Gillan, we're cunning linguists here.
Well, I'll tell you, Greek has more of that harshness, but it still wouldn't work as well as German. And that's pretty much it. So around the table, out of 10, Tom.
I mean 9. Don't you guys want to hear my story about how?
Oh yeah, give us your story.
Fucking killed me. Like I'd come on a show to talk about Rammstein, and I didn't get to tell the story about how they almost fucking killed me. Okay,
they have a fire zone. Everyone gets burned at a Rammstein concert.
No. So this was when I think it was their first big tour in the U.S. They're on the Pledge of Allegiance tour with Slipknot and System of a Down. And so Corey Taylor stayed at my house. So they played in L.A., like in San Bernardino, and then the next show is in Vegas. So Corey Taylor came and stayed at my house. We hung out, and then we drove to Vegas for the next show. Well, first off, Corey decides he wanted to dress like Raul Duke for the day. So we spent our afternoon running around Vegas looking for Acapulco shirts, the visor and the cigarette holder, the whole deal. We finally found it. But we get to the show. So all around the stage, when Rammstein is on stage, they have signs that say, no one on stage during Rammstein. This means you. Fuck off. No, really, this means you. And Corey, being Corey fucking Taylor, goes, come on, Biggie, we're going on stage. And I just point to the sign like in a Family Guy cartoon. He goes, come on. So I'm like, all right. So we walk. We're standing on the side of the stage watching the show, which again was part of when I discovered the band, like sitting there watching them from the side of the stage going, holy shit, this is like a spectacle. I got it. That was the moment when I got it. But then literally 2 seconds later, a flame pot went off 50 feet in the air, this far in front of my, like literally my eyebrows were singed off, half my beard. Like I literally, if I would have been like fucking 2 inches forward, I would be dead. I would not be in good shape right now. But yeah, so yeah, they have a fire zone like in the crowd. Imagine being in that fire zone on stage.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, no, this is not. I was in the crowd.
Make sure to stay behind the cones. That's what you're saying, right?
I've never been. No, just don't go on fucking stage, even if Corey Taylor says you have to. Say no, Corey, I'm staying here. That's what I should have said in retrospect, but I did not. I said, okay, let's go.
Right. There you go. Did you get to meet the band after?
I met all the guys. They were all kind of wandering around. I mean,
how's his English? Does he speak well English?
I don't remember. This was like 25 years ago. It was a little English. I mean, it was a little Englishy. I mean, I remember we kind of sort of carried on a conversation. You know, honestly, to be totally honest, I wasn't that interested in them or talking to them. It was cool. I met them and we were running around backstage and hanging out, but it was like, you know, I wasn't, again, if I met him now, I'd be a lot more fascinated. I just didn't give a shit. I mean, this was like in the 2000s, like no one gave a shit about Rammstein. They were like fourth on a bill of like 5 bands, you know, I think they were the mid band. I think it was Slipknot, System of a Down, Rammstein, and I don't remember who the fuck. Oh, I think there was I don't remember there was 1 or 2 openers, but they were like in the middle of the bill. They weren't big like that. This was when I think the first record was just out. Maybe the second one with Du Hast was just out. They weren't big. Like, and that's the other crazy thing about them is their trajectory in their career. I mean, they've been around for like 30 years. And it's just crazy. They went from like that to like opening for people to like, and then like their next tour, they're kind of touring arenas and then they're touring fucking stadiums now. But it's crazy. Like they come here every like 8 years and they're just 20 times bigger. It's crazy.
It's amazing. Stefan, What would you rate this out of 10? I know it's still early.
I'll give him a solid 8. They deliver what's expected of them. Now, you asked me to review this album at 11 o'clock this morning. I had a chance to listen to it twice. So very unfair for me to give a permanent rating to an album. Agreed. I have had time to get used to, but I do know Rammstein's catalog. I had not listened to the new album yet, but it did not turn me off. It is consistent of what I know and what I like of Rammstein. So for now, it's an 8.
By the way, Pat, that's okay. It's okay. And you know what? You're allowed to change it later on. Pat Frost says Rammstein played in Montreal at the Medley on their second album. So that's crazy. That wasn't big. Yeah. Perrin, what do you think out of 10?
Yeah, I gave it an 8 as well. So, I mean, I'm a bit more familiar with the catalog. So I think it's actually, at first few listens, I think it's in the top half of their catalog. I think it's a really good record. I mean, you know what? For a band that's so many years into it, to still put out kind of interesting stuff, funny stuff, a pretty diverse record in terms of what they do. Like I said,
and that consistent too, you know.
Yeah. So it's everything I would want from a Rammstein record. And you know, it's not that I listened to it these 2 times to review it, and now I will listen to it. I will, when I'm in the mood for this kind of music, it will be on in my car.
Do you think in 20 years from now you're going to be saying it's just as good as Mutter? You know, like it's holding its own there?
No. I mean, music isn't like that anymore. It's so hard to make anything now that people will still be listening to in 20 years. You know, I mean, you know what?
They said the same thing in the 2000s about the Korn records, and now my 15-year-old kid listens to Korn and Deftones and Incubus, and so it's weird. I think about that all the time. Like, where will this music be? Shit, 25 years ago that I thought would never have stood the test of time, like now are considered class. It's weird, though. It really is, like, to think about.
Look, Du hast is their transcending song, and it gets played at hockey games and every, you know. And look, you know, I go to a hockey game here in Montreal, and they always play Refuse, Resist, you know, and that's kind of transcendent.
Oh, you never know. Maybe 25 years from now will be Dick Titten.
Yeah, so, you know, like I said, I think there's a couple earworms.
On the Tic Tac commercial.
There's a couple of earworms on the record. I don't think there's a Du hast on this record. I don't know if there's an Angle on this record. But there's a lot of Americas, and there's a lot of Sonnes, and there's it's a good.
To me, America's always been like one of my favorite songs. Tom, what do you think out of 10? Is this? Are we going to be listening to this album in 20 years from now? I think are we going to be alive in 20 years from now? But in 20 years from now, will the kids be listening to
I'm going to grade this on a relative scale. Like for a Rammstein record, I mean, 8, 10. I mean, like, it's probably not something I'm going to listen to again. It's probably not something that's going to make its way into my musical zeitgeist and profoundly impact me. It was a cool record. It was fun to listen to. As a Rammstein record compared to their catalog, I'd say a good solid 8 as like something that is really going to influence my universe. Obviously, it's a relative scale for me. You know, I think for, you know, compared to their catalog, you know, like Perrin was saying, I mean, they've been around so long and put out records, and I mean, all the other bands this far into their career, their age, like every record, it's kind of a disappointment. Like it, and you know, for them, like when I heard them, I'm like, God, they sound fucking great. The record sounds great. The riffs, you know, it's funny. The riffs keep staying interesting, if not get more interesting. I think it's a really solid effort.
I think I'm probably going to be the lowest rater here, which is usually not the case. I think if you remove the first 2 tracks, it would be a solid 8, maybe 8.5. But because
you hate those first 2 tracks,
you know what? To me, it's kind of like I will probably never listen to those songs ever again. Like I don't see myself saying, you know what? I'm going to put on, you know, Schwarz.
God, I want to hear Armee der Tristen right now.
I think Giftig and Zigzag and Okay and Meine, Tränen and Angst and Dicke and Lügen and Adieu there.
Yeah, the last song on the record.
Wait. When you speak the name of Dick Titten, you do it with respect.
I think those tracks are great. I don't know. I put it 7.8 around there.
Yeah, but the fact that none of us can give us anything lower than that is pretty good.
7 point. That's like going on The Price is Right and bidding $1. Yeah, like 7.8. Like just.
He doesn't want to go over in his bid.
Yeah, he doesn't want. Yeah,
because I don't want to go 8 because all you guys
showcase showdown here on the Metal Voice.
They all said 8, so I'm going to say 7.8.
I just think I don't know. I've been listening to it, I guess all day, and I found the more times I listened to it, the less I liked it.
So by tomorrow, it might be like a 6.
So maybe I should stop listening to it in case I might lower my grade.
Right.
We'll just freeze time right here.
But if you go see them in August and stand in the fire zone, then
it might be a 9.
It'll be a 10 on 10. And by the way, I can see a lot of these songs making it to the live show. Like when I listen to these songs, I'm like, there's going to be a big fire blast there and there. And this is where, you know, it's almost like you can see the songs translating to the live environment in your mind when there'll be a fire blast and when the lights will come down.
I like what Tom said, you know, like the songs or the constructions are very percussive in a sense, right? Because they hit you. And that's kind of like what you're saying. They mark they're marks for explosions, different elements. But every song they have it's a good album in the sense that the riffs are fresh. There are a lot of fresh riffs there, and after all these years, having fresh riffs is not easy. But they always do this. They have a little keyboard melody always going on in every little song, or most songs. That's the trigger that helps you remember those songs and make them a little different.
And maybe the riffs are recycled, but they only put out a record every 8 or 9 years for the most part.
You don't even notice.
Yes, exactly. So by the time 8 years has gone by, you're like happy to hear it again, and you don't remember you heard it in the first place.
Yeah.
Sounds
or on 6 5 Finger Death Punch records the year before.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Been an honor. Always happy to see you.
You know, that's it. Pick it up. Was released yesterday. Zeit, the 8th album of Ramstein.
Just don't listen to the first 2 songs because he fucking hates them.
Jimmy said so.
Thank you guys. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, man.
Thanks.